What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about advanced market structure, how you are going to be able to catch pullbacks, how you are going to be able to trade them, and how you are going to be able to catch those early reversal trades. And I'm going to talk about my strategy as well. Okay, so as you can see right now, I'm in the top right of your screen, but it's just so you can guys see my whole screen, and I won't have to move it mid-video. Looking at this chart, right? We can see that we have a black line. We can see that we have a red line. And then down here, we can see that we have a blue line. First of all, we're going to talk about swing structure, which is the black line. As you can see over here, swing structure is the overall trend and the overall intention that the market has on the larger scale. What we can see here is that we create a high, a low, a higher high, a lower low, indicating a trend reversal. Then you can see again, we get a continuation of a lower high, lower low, lower high, and then eventually a lower low. How do we know that these phases, so the pullback phases, are going to get put in place? Well, this is when the internal market structure comes in place, so the red line. If we are going to zoom in on the market structure, let's say we have this pullback phase. What do we see here? Here you can see we get a break of structure. Here you can see we get a change of character. And what do we notice? After the internal change of character, we are seeing the swing pullback. Okay, so if you are trading, if you are, let's say, swing trading, same as me, you want to catch these highs. Okay, our job is to catch these highs, not these internal bullshit for us, right? Maybe if you drop down a lower time frame, sure. But our job is to catch these highs and these lows. How do we do that? Is we look at internal market structure and we determine, okay, when do we see the break of structure? When do we see the change of character? Here we see a change of character, break of structure, all the way up here. And let's say this was a major point of liquidity. Let's say we have a strong area of supply here. And all of a sudden, we see the change of character internally. We want to see an internal change of character. Then we can know, okay, the swing high has been created. And we know that we are targeting lower on the daily swing. So what do? Is we target the lows. Okay, then if we're going to look at here, we can see the daily swing break of structure. Let me mark it out for you guys. You can see the daily break of structure. When do we see a swing pullback? Once the internal structure changes character. And then we see break up. And then let's say we take this last point of liquidity. We are in a strong area of supply. And all of a sudden, we are seeing that internal change of character, right? This was the internal break of structure, internal change of character. Then obviously you can scale down, look for an entry, and then let's say enter on the 50%, and you target the overall swing move in towards the downside. Like so. This is how you implement swing and internal structure. But then we still have fractal structure. And fractal structure is one of the harder structures, in my opinion, to master. But if you do, you will catch very, very, very nice trades. And you will have a better understanding of the market's movement. If we're going to look at this price range, right? Here you can see we have a daily impulse, okay? And you can see we have a daily pullback, okay? But what do we know about market structure? Market structure is fractal, meaning what happens on the daily happens on the 4 hour. What happens on the 4 hour happens on the 1 hour, and so on and so on. How do we notice this on the chart? As I said to you 2 minutes ago, when do we know that a swing pullback is ready to form? When the internal market structure switches bearish or bullish, right? So when do we know the swing pullback is ready to form? When we see the change of character. Okay? But now, when do we know that the internal pullback is ready to form? Is when we see a fractal change of character. Here we can see we have a break of structure, a break of structure, and we can see a change of character. Okay? So inside of the internal impulse, we can see fractal structure. And then once that fractal structure gives up and gives us a change in trend, we know, okay, the internal structure is ready to pull back. Okay? And then you can see a break of structure, all of a sudden, a change of character. And now we know, okay, the fractal structure switched bullish. So now we know that the internal is also ready to give us the new impulse. And then you can see we get the new impulse. Here you can see, okay, we break structure in towards the upside on the fractal time frame. Here you can see we break structure on, we change character on the fractal time frame. And then we see the pullback. But when only is the pullback valid? Once we get an internal break of structure. Okay. So, in my opinion, when you are trading swing structure, like the black line, the fractal structure is not the main thing, but you can take it into account. If you do, you need to jump up a time frame. Okay, let's say this is the daily time frame. Let's say let's say the 4-hour time frame is the red. We want to see a daily fractal. Okay, so always jump up a time frame. Now I'm going to show you guys an example from the charts. Okay, so I'm currently looking at a different chart. I switched my colors. Currently wearing a different shirt because I'm actually recording part 2 for me on a different day. So yeah, let's just get into some chart examples. First of all, always we're going to start on the daily time frame. What are we going to see on the daily time frame? We're going to look for those swing pullbacks. So looking at the daily time frame, what do we see? We make a high, a low, a high, a low, a higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So what does this indicate for us? We indicate that this was a break of structure, this was a break of structure, this was a break of structure, and then what do we have here? A change of character. And then we make the new lower low, a lower high, and then we make a new lower low. So looking at the daily swing, we can zoom in, okay? And if we're going to zoom in, we can see the internal market structure, right? So what do we see here? We make a high, we make a low, we make a higher high, we make a higher low, we make a higher high. Well, what do we see here? We make a lower low, a lower high, and then here a lower low. And when is this swing over? When we change character, right? Because here we get a close, we make a higher high, we make a higher low. This could be a possible entry to target this high, okay? What do we see then? Here is our internal market structure because we just continue high, low, high, low, high. Here we see a change of character on the internally. So we know that if price goes up in towards the high, we know that this is then our external daily swing structure. Okay, we can also see we create internal market structure inside of the leg. Over here, we make a low, a high, lower low. Here we create a higher high, which is also in line with the daily swing break of structure. And then if we're going to look at the internal market structure towards the break of structure, we can see a higher high, higher low, and here we see a lower low. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you can see very clearly when a swing pullback is about to happen and when it is ended. Okay, so let's say we will trade this period in time. Let me just mark a box around it so we know where we are. Looking on the 4-hour time frame. Looking on the 4-hour time frame, our swing structure is our daily internal structure. Okay, so daily internal was here. We have a break. We have a break. We pull back. We see a break. Okay, so this is the daily internal break of structure. Okay, this is the swing high. This is the swing high. And this is your daily internal and your 4-hour swing. And when do we know that the daily swing is ready to pull back? When the 4-hour swing or the daily internal gets a change of character. Boom. Here we see the lower high. Boom. Here we see the lower high. Boom. And what do we see then? We see boom, 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 change of character. Okay. And then we see a pullback, boom, 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 towards a lower, a higher low. And then boom, explosive in towards the upside. So this is very clear how you're going to identify the swing, how you're going to identify the swing market structure and the internal market structure. Looking on the daily, your swing structure on the daily is just your swing structure. Your internal on the daily is your 4-hour swing. Your 4-hour internal, which you can see here, is your 1-hour swing, and so on and so on. And then we're going to go to fractal structure. Fractal structure, I mostly use it on the 4-hour. Okay, so what do we see here? Here we see 4-hour internal trend. Boom, boom. Okay, here we see a new 4-hour break of structure. If we're going to see when is our internal pullback ready to start, here you can see our fractal structure. We make a high, a low, a high. Do we ever come below this fractal? No, we don't. So this is internal. Here you can see we do. Okay. This is the fractal change of character. Looking again, right? Our internal market structure is this. We break up, we break down, we break down. And when do we know that our internal market structure is ready to have a pullback? We are looking at fractal structure. Here you can see we make a low, a high, a lower low, breaking structure, changing character, and then we make an internal high. Okay, so now we push lower. And then what do we see here? We make a low, we make a high, and we make a lower low. Meaning this is just the market structure, right? This low is this low, this high is this high, and this low is this low. And for fractal structure, we just count the wicks, okay? We do not see we no need to wait for a candle close. Here you can see we get a change of character, right? This was the break of structure. This is the change of character. Now we see internal, internal, internal. And this fractal structure will act as an area of demand. And as you can see, it's perfect. What do we see then? We see internal market structure being built. Okay, break of structure. When do we know that that break of structure will have a significant pullback? Is when we see a fractal change of character. What do we see here? We make a high, we make a low, we make a higher high. So this is your break of structure. This is your change of character. And then you can see the fractal delivers price lower until fractal switches bullish again. So meaning this is your internal break of structure. What do we see here? The internal gets a change of character, but we do still push up higher. Why? Because this is now a 4-hour swing low. Okay, so we have higher highs, higher lows internally. When do we know that a swing structure is ready to occur? When the internal gets a change of character. Okay, what do we see here? Internal gets a change of character. We see an immediate V-shaped reversal in towards the upside, creating a fractal change of character, pullback in towards the area of demand that we created with that fractal structure. And from there on, we push higher. So what is our 4-hour swing high and swing low now? Our 4-hour swing low, swing high, swing low. Okay, and what do we also see from that overall swing low is that we pull back in towards our discounted area. Okay, so let me give you guys a top-down analysis from another chart. Okay, so currently we're on the daily time frame on AUD USD. What do we see on the daily time frame? Okay, from what I can see right now is that we create bullish market structure, right? We have an impulse in towards the upside. We see a pullback and we see a new impulse in towards the upside. Okay, meaning this is your market structure. You make a high, a low, a high, a low, and we are now possibly going to make this new higher high. This is your daily swing structure. What I do on a live chart when I actually want to take a trade is I mark out my daily swing range. Okay, we make a high, a low, a high, and then we are inside of this range. Okay, so in this range, everything can happen. Everything. What are we going to wait now? We're going to wait for the daily internal to give us a change of character to then give us the continuation in towards the swing high, right? Because we know when is an external swing over when the internal changes character. What do we see internally on the daily time frame? We can see a low, a high, a low, a high, a low, meaning this is your change of character. So what are we going to wait for now? We're going to wait for this to break, to then receive the pullback, and then push up higher. And this is the move that we are going to catch, or we're going to try to catch. Now, this is my analysis on the daily, right? If we mark it out, this is your daily internal. This is your daily internal. This is your daily internal. And this is your daily internal. If we're going to drop down from the daily towards a 4-hour, what do we need to know? We know that the daily internal is a 4-hour external. So if we're going to go to the 4-hour, what do we see? 4-hour, we see a internal break of structure, internal change of character. Here we see a sweep, here we see a sweep, and we move higher. Meaning this is an external 4-hour low. And what did we say? The daily internal is the 4-hour external. So looking here, what do we see? We can see a 4-hour external, 4-hour external, 4-hour external, 4-hour external, and 4-hour external. When do we know that the daily internal, the daily external is ready to be created? Once we see the change of character on the 4-hour external. Okay, so this over here is a fake change of character. Why is that? Because it's just a pullback on the daily time frame. Okay, this was a very obvious fake pullback. Why? Because we had liquidity over here, we swept it, and we just start rallying in towards the upside. So my chart would look something like this. I mark my latest daily break of structure. I mark every single internal structure. So this will be my daily, or just my internal break of structure. This is the internal change of character. This is also the internal break of structure. Same here. Okay, this is what I do on the daily time frame. 4-hour time frame, it's the eyeballs, eye chalk, eyeballs, eyeballs, eye chalk. No, eyeballs. From there on, I know my bias. The daily is bullish. We are at a discount, so we are ready to buy. We have swept internal liquidity. We have swept more internal liquidity, and we are now rallying in towards the upside. So this is going to be possibly be the daily swing low, right? If we do see price close above here and give us an actual change of character, so a 4-hour change of character, did we do that? No, we did not. So there is still a chance that we will. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to arrow this, this, and then this. Okay, because we know the 4-hour swing structure switched from bearish to bullish. And there are two time frames that we're trying to align, the daily and the 4-hour. Okay, so what do we see now? You want to see the 4-hour switch towards the buys that the daily is. So bullish as well. That's what we're trying to do. We're going to wait for the pullback, let's say, in towards this point of liquidity. And from there on, we want to see the fractal change of character. So we can long it in towards these highs over here. So it would look something like this. You would long up here, stops well below the low, and you target a new higher high. This is how you swing trade. My favorite time frames are the daily, the 4-hour, and maybe even the 1-hour. If you are, let's say, in some type of internal trend that you're doing here. Some trade, the trade that I took today or a couple of days ago that hit TP over here is, what do we see here? We can see that we create a high, a low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Okay, so here I took a long from this liquidity point over here. And I was just holding this with my stop loss below the low. Here we can see consolidation. And what do we know? Accumulation, manipulation, and then we have distribution. So I placed my long entry on the low, stops below the low, and I just targeted a new high on the 4-hour swing. So in total, I guess 4 are trying to catch these trades. And yeah, I hope you can do too. This was the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below what you thought of it. If you guys have any questions, make sure to join the Discord or DM me on Telegram, and I will sure to help you guys out with future needs.